All right, next we're going to review some outdoor and playground safety. In this section, we will review two things our clients love to do: play on the playground and play outside. We will review how to keep them safe in both of these areas. In order to get started, let's review some playground safety. Lack of supervision accounts for approximately 45% of playground injuries. That means that more than 200,000 trips to the ER are due to playground-related injuries each year. This means that you need to keep your client supervised at all times when they're playing on the playground and check to make sure that you'll be able to see them no matter where they go on the playground. If they move to a different area and you can't see them from wherever you're sitting or standing, then you should be following them. If they need you to be right behind them when they're at the playground because they don't know how to keep themselves safe, then do that. If you need to be within arm's reach of them at all times, make sure you're doing whatever it takes for that client in order to keep them safe. Safety tips. Whenever you get to a playground, make sure you check the playground equipment and look for any broken equipment, rusted equipment, nails, or other sharp objects that are there. If they're at the playground and these things are broken and you don't feel like you're able to keep your client safe, then go ahead and take them away from that area. Remove them from the playground if you have to, whatever it takes in order to keep your client safe, because safety is always the top priority. If there's rusted equipment and you feel like your client's going to want to go over there, pick at the rust, anything like that, then make it the rule so that they can't play with that equipment. Obviously, if there are nails or other sharp objects, don't let them on that equipment at all. Also, when you get to the playground, ensure that your client knows how to utilize all equipment. If there is equipment that you know your client may have difficulty using, then make sure you are increasing your proximity during those times, helping them however it seems to best fit that client's need. Before even going to the park, make sure that your client is dressed appropriately for the park. This means that if they're wearing necklaces, you take them off. If they have scarves, remove them so that they don't get caught when they're going down slides or any other equipment that it could get caught on, along with drawstrings. Drawstrings are going to be very commonly get caught in different areas, so you're going to want to remove those whenever possible. I would always make sure that your clients have tennis shoes on. Don't let them go play at the playground in flip-flops. That means that they could fall off as they're running around. They could get stepped on by other kids and then have injuries to their toes. Something could follow them way too easily. So I would just always be safe and have them wear tennis shoes whenever possible. And make sure that they're tied securely before they start playing. As soon as they start running around, you're going to see untied shoes on a playground. So if your client doesn't have the skill to tie their shoes, tie them extra tight and double knot them before they get started. Here is a playground video on how to keep a client safe.
Hi, I'm Heather Olson, and I am part of a team at the National Program for Playground Safety. Today I'm discussing the basics of playground supervision. One of the major issues regarding playground injuries is the lack of appropriate adult supervision. It is important that adults are always on the playground when children are playing and should take an active role in playground supervision. While on the playground, parents should become supervisors and follow the ABCs of supervision. A is for anticipation. Supervisors need to anticipate preventable problems and hazardous situations, such as broken equipment, missing equipment, or exposed glass. Also, supervisors need to check children's clothing to make sure they are not wearing anything that could cause strangulation. Supervisors should remove any drawstrings on children's coats or sweatshirts and make sure they are not wearing loose jewelry, scarves, bike helmets, or open-toed shoes. B is for behavior. Supervisors need to teach children the difference between acceptable and unacceptable behaviors on the playground. Children and adults should agree on basic behavior rules prior to children playing on equipment to avoid confrontation on the playground. It is important that parents verbally warn children about inappropriate behavior. Supervisors should always be moving about the play area instead of staying in one place so they can keep an eye on the children and anticipate any inappropriate behavior. And C is for context. Supervisors who are responsible for a large number of children should be trained to know what to look for and when to intervene in children's play. Supervisors should carry a fanny pack safety kit with them so they can attend to injuries right away if need be. Basic materials of a fanny pack include a whistle to get attention, injury report forms, non-latex gloves, Band-Aids, and trash bags for trash. Good supervision behaviors means adults are alert and attentive, and that children stay safe on the playground. Good luck and stay safe.
All right, next we're going to go to outdoor safety. As we all know, our clients love to play outside. With this, there comes many challenges in addition to the playground safety we just reviewed. This section will dive deeper into these challenges. First, let's start off with pedestrians. Pedestrian safety is the 5th leading cause of injury-related death in children ages 5 to 19. Due to this, we need to make sure we are taking the proper precautions with their clients when walking through parking lots and streets. We need to make sure to be teaching our clients how to be safe while walking and how to become more aware of their surroundings. It's always best to walk on sidewalks or paths whenever possible. When walking on the sidewalk, always have the client furthest away from the street and you standing closest to the street. This is to ensure that the client has to cross and go past you before they can go to any moving cars. So if you ever have a client that elopes or likes to go towards moving cars or something happens all of a sudden, you're there in order to block that from happening. So you always need to be closest to the street when going on walks. You should be crossing at street corners, using traffic signals and crosswalks whenever it applies as well. If there are no sidewalks available, walk facing traffic and as far away from vehicles as possible. So be on the very edge of the street or of the sidewalk, or well, there is no sidewalk, but on the very edge of the street so that you're not close to any vehicles that are coming. When crossing the street, check all directions. As you're doing this, you can go ahead and narrate it for your client. Even if your client isn't at the age where you feel like they're ready to learn this skill, just narrating it out loud requires them to pay attention to that so that they start to understand that this is a skill that they will need. And also, depending on the functioning level of the client, you can also have them determine if it's safe for you to cross the street and incidentally teach this skill. Shaping this habit at a young age will be a useful tool for when they're able to cross the street by themselves. So if you feel like this is a skill that your kid needs to learn and they haven't been taught it yet and you are going on walks, go ahead and teach it. It's always a good time to teach those skills early. Make eye contact with drivers before crossing the street and watch out for cars that are turning or backing up. Don't run or dart out into the street or cross the street between parked cars. Make sure to set a good example for your client by putting down any electronic devices when you are walking around cars. When you're walking through a parking lot, ensure that the client is the one closest to the parked cars and you are the one walking by moving vehicles. Just like I said before, this requires that the client have to cross past you before they would be able to get in contact with any moving cars. So this is going to be really important. For younger clients, or really any shorter client that you have that cannot be seen if someone was backing up, hold their hand and have them hold on to you. Always hold your client's hand when around moving vehicles until the program manager has approved that they demonstrate independent safety skills where this would no longer be required. You cannot let go of your client's hand in a parking lot unless this has been approved by the program manager and their parent. Here is a video on some more pedestrian safety tips.
Mom, pay attention to where you're going.
Just a second, I have to answer this.
Come on, Mom. Answer it when we get to school.
Almost done, I just have to... Now what do they want?
Excuse me?
I said just give me a minute.
Ma'am? These guys are right. You keep walking that way, you'll end up flat. Like me. Just because there's a crossing guard doesn't mean you shouldn't stay alert. Stop at the curb. Wait for the signal. Psst. That's your cue. There. Then you walk across. Never run. always paying attention to the cars around you. The crosswalk is like an extension of the sidewalk. Traffic signals will tell you what to do. There's one now. Hiya, Bob. Hey, guy. Wait at the curb till you see a walk signal. Then walk across while still watching and listening for cars. But when there is no crosswalk or pedestrian signal, don't worry. Wait for a green light straight across the street. Then look left, right, left for stop traffic, and behind for turning traffic. When clear, walk across while still watching and listening for cars. Occasionally you'll have to cross where there is no intersection, but this looks dangerous. Better find someplace safe. Remember, sometimes it's good to go out of your way. Much better. Now, look left, right, left, listen, and walk across. What? No sidewalk? If you find yourself in this situation, walk as far on the side of the road as you can. And always go against traffic so you can see what's coming at you. It helps to make eye contact with drivers so you know they see you. Good morning. Lovely day for a walk. Even when you're looking out for them, they may not be looking out for you. That's why you should always pay attention and never get distracted.
Yeah, Mom. That means no cell phones.
Right. No cell phones, no earbuds, no video games, and no horseplay. Walking's serious business. But that doesn't mean it has to be a drag. Just stick with an adult or an older sibling, follow my tips, and you'll be walking like a pro. Plus, you'll be safe. Unlike that girl. Uncool.
See, Mom, that could have been you.
Guys are right. No more texts.
Yeah, besides, you gotta keep your head up to enjoy this beautiful day. And if you're walking in the dark or low light conditions, remember to stay visible with light-colored clothing and reflectors. Without these, I'm practically invisible. Well, that's my sign to leave. You guys have fun, and I'll see you on the way home.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, next we're going to move on to some bike safety. Many of our kids enjoy riding their bikes, and this is often a skill we actively work on here at CBS. Because of this, it's important that we are familiar with all safety procedures required during bike riding. The first thing we're going to go over is helmets. Make sure that your client is always wearing their helmet. This should always be the expectations for our clients to ensure that they do not get seriously injured while bike riding. It's important that you make sure that their helmet also fits properly. A helmet that doesn't fit puts a child at just as much of a risk compared to not wearing one. Later on in this presentation, you'll see how to check to make sure that the helmet does fit your client properly. It's important that you check for the right equipment. Make sure the bike is the correct size for the child. Clients' feet should be able to touch the ground when riding, and their knees should not be hitting the handlebars when riding. If either of these things happen and that's the bike that they were about to ride on, let the parents know, and then also let the program manager know that you feel like they need a different bike in order to work on bike riding. Don't ever let them keep going if either of those things are the case. Ensure that the bike works properly before use, especially testing their brakes, tire pressure, and tightness of the chain. If any of these things seem off to you, then don't let them get on that bike, especially the brakes part. Because if you have a client that's going downhill really fast and the brakes don't work, you're talking about a very serious injury that's about to happen. Ensure that you know the child's capability of riding a bike before beginning bike riding by checking in with their parents. So if there's times where you're working on bike riding, you haven't ever been bike riding with that client, check with the parents to see what they already know how to do. Don't wait and test it out. You're going to want to know what to expect. You're going to want to know if they can use their brakes, if they can't use their brakes. Can they cross the street on their own? Do they need to walk their bike across the street? Always think of all the questions that might come up while you're riding a bike and anticipate those before you get on. Make sure that the type of bike being used also matches their capabilities. If they're riding a bike that has different gears and you feel like they're not ready for that, then maybe a one-gear bike is a lot more appropriate for them, and you can make that suggestion to the parent so that they're not riding a bike that is above their skill level. Also, it's important to teach safety tips to the child about bike riding. Teach them to wear bright clothing so that they can easily be seen. Don't wear clothing that could easily get caught on the bike. Teach the kid to always have two hands on the handlebars at all times, no matter what. And make sure that the child never wears headphones while riding. But also teach the whys behind this. Teach them that the reason that they can't wear headphones is because they can't hear their surroundings. They might have seen other people wear headphones before, so they think it's okay. It's always important to teach the reasoning behind the things that you're giving them as safety tips to them. Any other items that they might have should be stored in a basket or placed in a backpack so that they don't have to ever use one handlebar while riding their bike. Rules of the road while riding. Ride with traffic, not against it while riding your bike. Always ride on the sidewalk if it's available. If there isn't a sidewalk available, maybe it's not the best time to work on bike riding. Maybe you need to find a different place to work on bike riding. Anything like that is always okay to suggest to the parents. Make sure that they stop at the end of the sidewalk so that they know to check for cars before crossing. And then always look for cars backing out of the driveway or parking lot or wherever you may be. Teach children to make eye contact with the driver, otherwise assume that the driver cannot see that client. Some additional safety tips to consider. Bike riding should always be a skill that is approved by the program manager before implementing. And this means that the program manager has always checked in with the parent, but the parent is also important to check in with as well. The reason that we require this is because the program manager is going to take into consideration all the prerequisites required before working on bike riding. So if your child doesn't have the ability to stop when asked, then how are they going to learn how to ride a bike and stop when you need them to? Because you might place that demand to stop and they don't know what it means and they just keep going. And then at that point, you're going to have to stop them from riding their bike physically, and then you're not going to be able to keep yourself safe. Little things like that are going to be taken into consideration by your program manager. But if you ever think of a skill that maybe they didn't think about or that you feel like is a concern about bike riding, always bring it up and advocate for yourself in those scenarios because it's important that we not only keep you safe, but also keep the client safe. Before you begin bike riding, think of all the safety skills a child needs to prior to learning how to ride a bike. If there are certain safety skills they haven't mastered, this needs to be taken into consideration as you ride bikes together. So, for example, if they haven't looked to cross both ways before crossing the street, then you would need to plan for this ahead of time by asking them to stop at the stop sign, getting off the bike, instantly teaching that skill, or doing that skill for them and letting them know when it's safe so that you can stop it and prevent from any accidents that are about to happen. Always make sure to have your phone on you when outside in case of an emergency. If you don't have your phone and there is an emergency, then you're going to be in a tough spot. So I would always make sure to keep that handy. Here is a video on some additional bike safety tips to take into consideration.
Hi, my name is Amy Teddy, and I'm the Injury Prevention Program Manager at CS Mott Children's Hospital. My job is to keep your kids safe and out of the hospital. A very common admission we experience during the summer months are injuries to children related to riding their bikes. So I'm here today to talk to you about how to keep your kids safe while riding a bike. So when choosing the right helmet for your child, you need to make sure it's the right helmet for the right activity. So we have here is a bike helmet that we're going to put on Rylan. And to make sure that it fits properly, you want to make sure that it's no more than 2 finger widths above the eyebrow. Then you want to check to make sure that the straps are coming along the jawline, so that will create a nice snug fit. And then no more than 2 finger widths underneath the chin strap. The child should be able to open their mouth wide and not cause discomfort. Go ahead and close your mouth. And then they're good to ride. Parents often underestimate the influence they have in role modeling for their child. It's equally important for parents to wear their helmets to encourage their children to do the same. You've learned that choosing a helmet for your child and making sure that it fits properly is very important. It's equally important to make sure that the bike is appropriate for the child and that it's neither too big nor too small for them. If you're concerned about the appropriate fit for your child on a bicycle, you can check out any local bike shop and they will assist you with proper fitting measures. Teaching the kids the rules of the road can start as soon as they start riding their bicycle. Showing them how to cross the road safely. And we're going to look right, look left, look right again. Showing them where intersections are and how it's important to only cross at those intersections. How to follow the stop sign, recognizing the traffic safety signs. The importance of walking their bicycle across the street. These are important lessons that will last a lifetime. For instance, when they start driving a car themselves. It's much easier for us to establish these habits early on than it is to correct them when they are older. So now that you've heard how to keep your kids safe while riding their bicycles, keep your kids safe in other activities. For more information, visit www.safekids.org. If you're looking for more fun, safe activities to do with your children this summer, check out mottchildren.org/camp.
All right, let's move on to some water safety. In case you didn't know this, children with autism are commonly drawn towards water. It's important we always keep an eye on our clients when they are involved in any sort of water activity. Young children can even drown while in a bathtub or a large bucket of water. Emphasize water safety when working with your kids. This means that you set limits and boundaries around water for your child. Set the rule that they may never play with water without an adult present, and show them how to safely play in water. You can show them that they can't play with it around electrical outlets, that they can't play with it around on any other surfaces that are unsafe, that it should always be in a contained area. Any other rules that you can think of about how to be around water and safe. No running, no jumping into shallow water, anything like that. To walk slowly around water. Think of all the different rules that you know about how to safely play in water and teach those to your client. Always be prepared. Anytime you're with your client around water, you're going to want to have your phone close by at all times, especially if it's only you and your client and you're around water. Because if something were to happen, you're going to want your phone right there in order to call 911. If you're at the client's home, never leave the client in a room where they are in a bathtub. Know that a baby seat or ring does not keep your client from drowning, and empty and turn over all buckets as soon as you are done using them. Like I mentioned at the beginning, a client can even drown in a very small amount of water. It says 2 inches. So even if a bucket only has 2 inches of water in it, if a client were to get into it, they could end up drowning. If you're at the pool, never leave a gate open to the pool open. This means that a client could easily wander into the pool and jump in. It takes such a small amount of time for a client to run away from you and jump into a body of water. Teach your client and observe that they stay away from any pool drains, and empty and turn over any wading pools as soon as a client is out. If you're on a walk with a client and your client is often drawn towards water, be on the lookout for any bodies of water that might be around. Lakes, pools, anything that they could run into, a huge, really deep puddle that they might want to play into, so that you can always be preventative in these situations. Teach a client how to swim. Swimming skills are often a priority here at CBS because children with autism are drawn to water. We want each child to know how to swim in case they ever get access to water without an adult. So during the summertime, we focus heavily on teaching kids how to swim at group. We want this to be a skill that they learn how to develop at a young age, so that, like I said, if they were ever to get away and an adult wasn't around, they know how to swim and they don't end up drowning. If we're not able to work on swim skills at CBS, we'll still encourage parents to sign their children up for swim lessons if they're ready, because it's never too early to start teaching a child how to swim. They say even as early as 6 months a child could start. Swim lessons are often enjoyable for children with autism, and really any child for that matter, because kids love water and they love how to swim, learning how to swim and learning those skills. While swimming, actively watch your client when they are swimming. Our CBS policy is that you have to be within arm's reach of your kid at all times when in the pool, even if they already know how to swim. So even if you have a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old client, you must be within arm's reach at all times, because we want to make sure that nothing bad happens, because even if someone knows how to swim, it doesn't mean that they can't drown. Don't let your client dive in water less than 9 feet deep, and a child can easily get in trouble with water even when they're wearing a life jacket. So just because you're working with a little kid and they have a life jacket on or they have a flotation device doesn't mean that they can't get in trouble while swimming. Anytime you're in the pool, make sure you're working on swim skills because there's always things that they could work on improving. We have different swim levels here at CBS that take you to the next step as you're learning how to swim. So we're constantly pushing that here. And teach client rules surrounding the swimming pool as well. Teach them no running, no jumping without permission, that an adult always needs to be in the pool. Actively remind your client about all of those different rules. Here is a water safety video for kids.
For little kids, water means fun, but even a little water can mean big danger.
All it takes is about 2 inches of water for a child to drown in. In a bucket, small amount of water in a bucket, a child can drown in, and it's happened.
It happens more than you think. The Centers for Disease Control finds more kids under 5 die from drowning than car wrecks.
It takes only 20 seconds for a small child to slip under the water. They may not thrash or yell for help. They may just silently slip under.
So around New Jersey pools and beaches this summer, the message to parents is loud and clear.
The most important thing a parent can do for a child is give them confidence in the water, swim lessons.
At this Hamilton YMCA, toddlers learn to enjoy the water with a little help from mom and dad.
Parents should teach children that water can be fun, but also they need to be safe around water, that they should never swim alone, and that they should learn how to get help if there is an emergency.
I know people really sometimes put babies in the water at 6 months of age, but usually by the time they're about 2, they're really good at adapting and learning things.
Water safety takes responsible parenting and common sense. Take it from popular lifeguard advice. Adults should supervise when their kids go in the water. Kids should always wear life jackets. It's state law that parents fence in their backyard pools, but it helps to remove any ladders that might invite toddlers to climb over and jump in. And doctors agree, all parents should learn CPR.
It's not only for your own family, but for other people that you can really help rescue at that time. So it's very important for everybody to learn CPR.
All kids crave summer fun, and that's why they need to learn water safety. But it's up to their parents that they learn it the right way.
Swim near a lifeguard. Always keep them in eyesight, in clear view, and close enough that you can get to them if there's a problem.
For the New Jersey Department of Children and Families, this is Mark Levinson.
All right, in addition to that video, we're going to watch another water safety video specifically about children with autism.
They are so drawn to the water, it's just so hypnotic for them, so enticing.
He enjoyed the water, the feel of the water. Nothing else mattered to him while he was in the water.
Children with autism are 160 times more likely to drown than the general pediatric population group.
Walk in. Do you like swimming? Ayla was diagnosed when she was 18 months old, and at the initial diagnosis she was diagnosed as severely affected by the autism. Her body's relationship to movement was something that was really, really frightening. Like, she'd find being in a stroller frightening, she'd find being in a shopping trolley frightening, and one of the things that really helped support her was water.
Ayla is our little fearless warrior. I'm Erica Gleason, the Clinical Director of Autism Swim. Autism Swim is a national organisation that specialises in water safety and swimming skill sets for autism spectrum disorder and cognitive deficit.
Before the Autism Swim program, we did try to get Ayla involved in a mainstream swimming school, and we just found that it didn't consider her needs. She started to stop liking the water.
Swimming instructors, until Autism Swim came along, didn't really have the opportunity to be equipped with training and consultancy and resources that allow them to most effectively teach to the ASD brain. A lot of individuals with autism have difficulties in perceiving risk and danger.
I had remembered seeing on the news a couple of times that some kids on the spectrum had escaped their homes and ended up subsequently drowning. But you don't think that it's that prevalent.
Thanks, Erica.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. 50% of individuals with autism will wander. They generally gravitate toward bodies of water.
Connor was always happy. He was just always happy.
Smiling all the time, laughing. You wouldn't even know that he was different or anything like that.
He was nowhere in the room. We went through the whole room, and then somebody noticed that the fly screen of the window was out. We're running up and down the street. My brother's knocking on people's doors at 7 in the morning, waking everybody up and saying, "Oh, have you seen this little boy? Have you seen this little boy?" And then Dave found one of his little toys that he played with sitting on the bank of the river, and we called the police.
Police turned up and
One of the police officers came over and told us that the volunteer divers had found him. Everything was different.
it was quiet. That was the biggest thing, just silence in the house. Just silence, because he would always be making a noise or humming.
We got this little 3-year-old who, she loved her big brother. She didn't understand.
Still sort of doesn't
No, she
understand
doesn't get it.
to this day. She thinks that he's just gone away and is coming back.
90% of individuals with autism who are under 14 who die, it's a result of drowning. I'm yet to tell one person that statistic, and they know, which is the way that this organisation came to be. Dippers is a bit of a circus down on the beach. It's a fun circus though. So generally the first half of the program is sand-based. We look at some fine motor skills and gross motor skills on the sand, and a lot of the activities there are simulating things that would actually happen within the water. Some of the skills that the participants walk away with are the ability to perceive risk a little bit better, being able to identify flags, for instance, where they should be swimming, who they should be swimming with.
Her ability to assess dangerous situations, particularly in the water now, has certainly improved.
We would love to see swimming lessons for individuals with autism be compulsory. Ultimately, the work that we're doing is saving lives. That's why we're here. So we need to continue to generate exposure. We need to offer services to more individuals, and we need to do everything that we can to move those statistics in another direction.
As you can see from that video, water safety is so important with the population that we work with. Really make sure that you review anything that I went over about water safety and that those videos covered so that you really know what to do in those situations.